Hi everyone, this is Amy and I'm joined by Darren. Hello.
Hi, Amy.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've done one of these. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this. We are going to discuss this evening. We both have, because we talk outside of this, we do talk about all sorts of stuff to do with astrology, tarot, you name it. But one passion that we both do have is looking at true crime and looking at things that are um, not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but we like to look at things like looking into the minds of why people do what they do. And that might not necessarily be murderers or anything like that. However, I know that you're quite an expert in that. So
Yes.
yes, is that something that you just decided to pursue, or is it something that you've always been passionate about?
It's something that I've always been passionate about. I've always been interested into psychology
Mm-hmm.
and been extremely curious on how the mind works and even over analyzing myself, like why I am the way that I am. And it's just something that I've always had an interest in. And even as a child, I've always looked at horror flicks and was never afraid. I guess I was weird like that. But I don't know. I just always had an interest as to why people do the things that they do. And this may sound naive of me, but I never understood why people were evil. So I just always had an interest into psychology or what happened to them as a child and stuff like that.
So you see it in a very similar way to me, but as I say, like I don't look into astrology charts and stuff like that for the minds of the way that people do what they do. Although I have started to, and I think that when you get to a point where I was saying to you before that I did this reading party over the weekend, and there was a lady in particular. She shared the same birthday as me, but she was totally different, and she had Pisces Sun Scorpio rising like me, so instantly you think, yeah, it's going to be pretty similar. But then when you look a little bit further into it, she had like a Libra moon, I have a Taurus moon, and then you start to see the differences. And I think that, I think the wonderful thing about it is that you can see the framework of somebody just by
Hmm.
looking at their chart, and I just find it fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's something that I've always tried to do, even with basic astrology. You know how everybody is aware of their sun sign depending on their birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Even with just that, as a child, I've always been able to figure out people's energy just based on the sun sign, or I would even look for it to validate my intuition. Because I've
Yes.
always had this strong intuition that there was truth to astrology. Even though logic is telling me there's 12 zodiac signs and millions of people in the world, how can they be the same? But I've always felt it, and I didn't
Mm.
understand why, despite how different the next person would be from me.
Mm.
And when I discovered birth charts, it made a whole lot of sense that it's not just the zodiac signs, it is the planets, which represents the action and the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And where is that energy being placed? And it's
Yeah.
being placed into, in the wheel, the whole 12 pieces of the chart. And I think part of the reason why I have such a obsession, I guess you could say, is because I do have the North Node in the eighth house, which
Mhm.
represents, occult studies, occult knowledge, psychology, astrology, and hidden knowledge. So, and I also have a Moon Mercury conjunction,
Yeah.
which can make the mind um, be very curious on how other people feel, because it's intelligence and emotions coming together, and they both represent the mind.
Yeah.
So it does bring curiosity on how the mind works and how other people feel or why they feel the way that they feel.
And I can see, I think a lot of people in general, like it's, I mean, I'll take for example, I mean, I'm terrible for it now, but when, like, way back when I first met somebody, I'd be like, oh, when you start dating someone, I'd be like, oh, what's your sign? Oh, I'm this, I'm that. And oh, fair enough. And you wouldn't, I would always be very curious. Like growing up, my mom used to buy me those like teenage girl magazines, and I'd go skip to the horoscope, like, oh, what's Pisces doing, and I'd be like, oh, it's so true, even though like half of it was like just probably just made up, but
Yes.
yeah, it's so true. But now you see, I am terrible. So when if I go on a date with somebody, I would be instantly like, what time was you born? I need to look at this person.
Yes, I do the same
I'm
thing.
terrible. I'm terrible. I'm just like, I need to know, like, on paper if you're all right, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think that I've made the mistake in the past where I dated, and we are going to talk about that later on. Like, I've dated people in the past where I've looked and gone, ew, but they've not been who I thought they were. I think, like, in regards to astrology as well, like, I, unfortunately, for anybody that watches this, they know if you're an empathic person, you're going to attract an asshole at some point in their lives, or multiple assholes. It's just unfortunate. It's the way of the world. It's what happens. And a lot of empathic people who definitely come to me for readings, they'll say to me, Amy, why do I attract this person? Why do I attract that person? And part of what I do now is I do relationship coaching, and I get people to a place where they realize that they are queens and they are kings, and they shouldn't settle for second best, and they certainly shouldn't ever settle or not date somebody based on their zodiac sign, sun sign as a whole. I think we should talk about this now. I do.
Yes.
I think we're getting into that. Yeah. I mean, I went on a date with someone before, and I have done it where they've said, oh, I think they were a Leo, but because my mom's a Leo, I'm like,
Yeah.
But I've got nothing against Leos. It's just me and my mom clash. But there's a whole array of why we clash, but it is what it is with that. But yeah, what's your take on that?
I think that's a really good point for people not to be judgmental just based on sun signs. Because when people tell me their sun sign, I kind of say, so what? What else? Like, what's your moon sign? Where's your Mercury? Where's your Venus? Like, I want to know everything now. Like, I don't care about your sun sign no more. I want to look at the whole thing. Because birth charts has changed my perspective when it comes to zodiac signs. And it's made me less judgmental, and it has made me a lot more patient with people. Because when I look at aspects and conjunctions and stuff like that, I look at it as a person's wiring in their brain, like how they are, and they can't help the way that they are. You can help some things if you want to get real deep into it, like progressions and transits and all of that, but that's getting deep. But it is like a person's wiring, like how a person talks, how a person acts, everything, how they are when it comes to relationships, how they treat their children, how they treat their parents and stuff like that. You can go on and on and on, or even how a person behaves at work. All that stuff, it covers all aspects of your life. And I think that's what's so cool about astrology. You can really get a deep understanding of a person. And the best way to understand a birth chart is to study astrology. Well, study astrology step by step, slowly. Like, study the zodiac signs objectively without being judgmental or critical because of somebody that you know personally. And just look at it for what it is. Like, if a book says that Aries are aggressive, and an Aries person that is shy, don't dismiss it and say, oh, this is not true because my cousin or my brother is an Aries and they're quiet. You got to you got to study the planets too. Well, why is that person quiet? Then you have to look at the Mercury. Mercury represents communication. Do they have a Saturn aspect? Do they have a K2 aspect? You got to understand what these planets mean and what it's doing to these zodiac signs.
Yeah. And it's amazing because, like, people don't realize how important that is. I mean, like, when I've done readings, like at that reading party I did it on Saturday night, she says, oh, I'm a Pisces. This lady was like, oh, I'm a Pisces, shared my birthday. And like I say, I was like, oh, I was having a laugh about that. I was like, oh, it's not very often you come across somebody with the same birthday. Like, I was like, oh yeah, And yeah, and then when she's like, she had, I obviously can't say her chart on camera, but she did have certain elements, and she was like, oh, it makes so much sense about me because I don't always fit the criteria of Pisces. And I says, to be fair, so I think growing up, I was very, very Pisces, but I think I hit 25 and I went Scorpio. That's it's my rising. But it's when you told me, when we had that phone conversation a few weeks back, I was saying about Mars and Gemini, that being a massive impact on my life. And
Into the 8th house.
It's one of them, isn't it, where you just like, I kind of like with like my like you said, he was like, oh yeah, did you get road rage? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I think everybody I know that has severe road rage, I'm like, they have Mars and Gemini, like. But it's the same with like one of my best friends is a Gemini, and you know, bless her heart, you know, she's had it tough in love, like she's had it real tough, like she attracts these idiots into her life, and I'm like, girl, you need to, you know, you need to stand tall with, you know, with the way that you feel about yourself and stuff. But most importantly, like she's like, oh yeah, but Geminis are this and Geminis are that. Like Geminis are like the way that people perceive, I wouldn't say about Gemini, like perceive them to be like these people that can't settle down, they can't do this, they can't do that. But actually, I see my daughter's a Gemini, and I see them in can be very sensitive, they can be very loving. There's just, that's the thing, there's two flips of a coin with every zodiac. Like you have your good sides and your dark sides.
Yeah, there's negative and positive to each zodiac signs. And depending on how the planets are arranged in the birth chart, it can manifest the really, really bad traits of a zodiac sign. That's kind of what I was saying in my previous videos on the serial killers. And one of them being Ted Bundy. He has a stellium in Sagittarius.
Wow.
But they're like, it's a horrific conjunction. It's Sun, Mars, Ketu, and the Moon. And the Moon is your emotions, your mind, and your feelings. And Ketu, just by itself, can make a person emotionally detached. Then he has a Uranus opposition, which can make him be rebellious to the emotional needs of other people.
Oh my God.
And that stellium is in the 5th house of his romantic encounters and children. Because towards the end of his, not the end of his life, but one of his last killings was a child. He raped and killed a child. You know, anger bringing aggression.
Yep.
Ketu just is like an imploding energy where you kind of separate. It's like with Ketu and Mars, it's like there's this anger and I need to release it and shoot for where Rahu is, which is in Gemini with Uranus. And Uranus can make a person extremely rebellious, especially to anything regarding authoritative figures. And obviously, he did not care what authority thought of him. He was extremely rebellious and, you know, escaping from jail more than once. So he had a lot of willpower, too.
Yeah.
And Moon representing our emotional needs. So we had a conjunct Ketu with Mars, and Mars represented sexuality in the 5th house, which also is a house of sex and creativity. So there is a lot of confusing energy. It's like, you know, him needing the emotional needs of having sex and having sex with a certain type of woman, but I also need detachment and space, which ultimately led him to be necrophilia.
Yes.
Having sex with dead women. And it's a sign of long distance travel. And he traveled all through the United States, raping and killing women. And I also explained how the mutable signs get away with murder because they can adjust to any situation, where the fixed signs and the cardinal signs are usually the ones that get caught easily, which is why the mutable signs have a higher rate in serial killings, because they get away with it faster.
See, I read somewhere that people, that Pisceans are notorious for being serial killers.
Yeah, that and Gemini.
I say that as a Pisces, like.
Yeah, because Pisces is good at being mysterious. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing. How is it being?
Yeah.
And I also explained in the other video, I just put it out, where Pisces on the negative side, well, Pisces is a very vulnerable zodiac sign, because out of the 3 zodiac signs, the 3 water signs, the crab Cancer has the hard shell around it. So Cancers can be tough, have a tough exterior and be guarded. Yeah. But they're very sensitive on the inside. Where in Scorpio, their lives are so turbulent, and they typically have things, traumatic things happen in their lives. You know, and even just sun signs alone, like I see celebrities, like really tough celebrities where they look intimidating. And then when you find out their life story, they've been abused, they've been raped, like really intense, scary stuff. And that's why they're always intense and distrustful. And to the point, if it's manifested in a negative way, Scorpio, they can be overly defensive and accusatory. And that defense can turn into the offense sometimes, and they get themselves into more trouble when it's manifested negatively.
See, I think that applies for risings as well, because I can relate to a lot of that.
Mhm.
It's a case of like, yeah, I think like definitely like the because everyone says to me like, oh, you know, oh, what's being a Scorpio rising like? And I'm like, do you know what? On the most part, it gives you confidence, it gives you a drive, it gives you
Mhm.
motivation to just
Yeah.
go and do what you need to do. But the dark side of it is like, especially because it kind of just does it with Pisces, as my Pisces sun as well. It's just like overthinking this.
Mhm.
When I'm having a bad day and I'm thinking somebody said something and I'm thinking, did they mean it like that? Did they mean it like that? And then this
Yeah.
overthinking comes, they're this, oh my God. And then it just blows up, you know?
Yeah. In Pisces, they're very receptive, like Cancer, but even more so because they have nothing that protects them.
Yep.
That's what makes them intuitive, though, too, at the same time. They can feel other people's energy so well, especially when it's Moon Pisces or if there's some kind of Moon Neptune aspect, whether it's conjunction, trine, whatever the case may be, makes the
Mm-hmm.
mind very sensitive. So if you have Moon in Pisces, you're really intuitive.
Yeah, my daughter has that
Yeah.
aspect. She does. She has her. She's a Taurus. She's a Gemini Sun, Taurus rising, Pisces moon. And I tell you something, she is really switched on. Like she knows as soon as I don't even have to say anything to her, she will know if I'm upset like that. And it's just like, okay, like how do you know? It's so weird. You know, she's really intuitive, but she's seen things as well. Like she's seen where I used to live. Before, let me see, I'm in my new house now, but where I was before, there was like when I went, I don't know if this is like and it might be a slight change of subject, but like whenever I go, like, it's the same when people say, oh, how do you know if you've met your soulmate? You just know. And it's like the same when you walk into a house that you're trying to pick. So I'm trying to pick this house in particular was what my ex chose, and I hated it. And I walked into the house and I went, this isn't right. I don't feel like this is the house I'm supposed to live in. This is just not radiating positivity. This feels dark. I don't like it. And
Mhm.
ironically, everything went wrong while I was in the house. The first night that we moved into that house, because he was like, no, we're moving into it. So the first night, there was a water pipe burst. I heard footsteps in the hallway all the time. I knew something lived there because I told it to go away numerous times and it wouldn't. But there you go. It was just little things like it was actually this deck of cards. So I have like a shelving unit here, and all I was doing, I was just typing away at this email, reading it, and it was up here, and it went bang, and it literally just fell off, and and it went really cold here, and I just went, me being me, I was like, just do one. Like I'm busy, leave me alone. But there was so much negativity and darkness, so I just had to like smudge the house all the time, and eventually it did kind of lift. But when I knew about this house about 6 months before I even went on the market, like I knew it was coming up, and I was like, this is my house, I'm going to move here. And I walked through the house for the first time, and it was nothing but love that was radiating, and I'm happy. So it just, I think with housing in general, like you just know, like I've had to go around to a client's house before and sort it out because there's been something in there. So it's quite, it's not always nice, but you just have to make sure, like, before anybody starts getting Ouija boards out and stuff, for God's sake, protect yourself, because I tell you something, there's some nasty negative stuff. I mean, certain psychics can do it, Darren, where they can send you psychic attacks and they know they're doing it, and it's negative vibes all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
That's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, it's happened to me on multiple occasions, but now I'm just like, I don't even know what part of my chart is this. I'm just like, do whatever, I don't care.
Maybe it's because you do have, maybe you're kind of vulnerable to that because you do have a moon opposition to Pluto, and that can be a dark energy too, or experiencing transformative things throughout your life because it's in your first house.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yay. No, I think with anybody's chart though, we all have something that we don't like. Definitely.
Yeah,
There is certain things I'm just looking at like, really. I read I don't know who it was that told me. I can't remember. Was it you that said this to me, that like we kind of choose our, like when we're in our soul
yeah.
form, we before we go to earth to
We
experience this
choose our
life,
choice.
we
Yeah,
kind of choose it. And sometimes I look and going, yeah, but really? Like,
yeah,
because we
yeah,
get given these folders of like, okay, so this is the person this is person number one. This is Amy. She will be born on February 21st. She will have so many children. And
yeah.
this is Karen, like, this is how it happens, or like,
I don't know, but I did talk to a person who
mm,
is very intuitive, and she's probably watching this right now, but she is incredible. Like, she blows my mind. Like, she's told me so many personal things about my life. But
mm.
anyways, but she's the one that did tell me that. And she told me that because I was asking her, how do you know, well, why would a serial killer choose that life? Like, why would a serial killer
Well,
choose
this is
that?
it. Like, why would you want to experience pain? Why would you want to experience hurt when all you would know is love if you chose a good life? Like,
Yeah,
I suppose I feel that way in certain areas of my life. Like, why, I have lost children in the past. I have had miscarriages in the past. Like, why would I choose to want that? I don't, why would I have lost my dad at the age of 49? Like, I didn't want to lose him at 49, to like the most horrific disease. Why would my dad have chose that life? But I suppose if we look at it in another way, I suppose, I don't know, is it repaying karmic debts? Is it, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That's what I get confused about. But I did ask this person, like, why would a serial killer choose to be that? And she put it in a way where it's like choosing a movie role, where sometimes the soul wants to play the bad guy, and sometimes those souls can be evil spirits.
Mm.
And then I said, well, what about the victims? Why would a person choose to be the victim of that? Because they don't know what pain is. They never experienced that. And then I made a joke saying, well, I would never choose that next life. I would never
No.
choose that to be in my life. And then she told me about one of my past lives. I guess I have so many. She said, well, you've already experienced that because you used to be a slave. And my mouth dropped when she said that. Like,
I remember you saying, yeah, I was like, oh my
I
God.
had a familiar feeling like,
Yeah, because we spoke about this, didn't we? 'Cause I
yeah,
told you about my past life being, because I've always had a strong drawing to Germany. Like, always had this drawing. Like, I have so many German friends. I've learned the language. I'm pretty good at it now. Like, I can talk to people fluently. It's just like this thing that I don't know why, it just kind of happened.
yeah.
And then I had this past life regression therapy, and she was like, yeah, so we'll take you back. And I was hiding Jewish people from the
Mhm.
Nazis, and I got caught and I was put to death. And I remember that.
Yeah.
That was a
And
cool life. Like,
yeah, I had a really awesome past life reading from Lada, like way before I came on her channel.
oh my
And
gosh.
she told me that in my past life, well, one of my past lives, that I had uh I guess I knew about astrology in my past life. And she said that I was born with this gift, and that's why it comes to be naturally. And when she said it, it rang so true to me because it is something that I do feel like I
Yeah,
was
because
literally born with.
it just comes out. Like, you don't
Yeah,
even have to think about it. So that's awesome.
yeah. From the time I was a child, like I could remember everybody's birthday. You tell me once and I remember it. And I would feel the vibe just the month. I never even heard of zodiac signs, but I can feel the energy just by the month. Like I would
So
say,
that's so strange, because I
yeah.
have the same thing. Like, when I was
Mhm.
growing up, like, I hated 2 months, April and September. I don't know why, I just did. I think it's because September, I knew I was going back to school, but it was a really long month and it used to drag. But like, I see what you mean. Like, energy wise, like February for me, obviously it's birthday month, but it's Valentine's Day. It's this, I know it's like a loving energy anyway, but I love February. It's a good month. Like, January drags, like, but I know what you mean. Like, there is these different vibes that you can pick up uh,
Yeah.
with certain parts of your life, especially, by months and.
I think that has a lot to do with the transits too, even just
Mm.
by a sun transit. Like now I feel more homey because the sun is in Scorpio, and Scorpio rules my fourth house. So I feel way more more at home and more cozier. Like I don't go out much. And when Sagittarius comes, I feel like I want to have fun and be out, and I always feel like that's always a fun time for me. Like I used to love December, and I used to think, oh, it's because of the holidays, not realizing that the sun made a transit to my fifth house, the house of fun and creativity and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. See, I love Scorpio season. I do. It comes right at home with me too. So I feel you. I think a lot of my Scorpio season is about reflection though, like what it is I want. Am I doing the right thing? Yeah, there's been, like I said before we went on air, like I've had a load of surprises come through recently, and it's just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have asked me how the Venus in Scorpio retrograde has been. How have you found it?
I can't stand it. I cannot wait for it to be over.
I know, right? I know. The amount of people have said to me, it sucked. And I'm like, oh, I know. Like,
it's been just messing with my life, like in every aspect of my life, my family, my house, my money, relationships, everything. And it's my Mars return, so I'm on edge. I am just on I cannot stand it. I'm just ready for the year to be over.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I think there has been in Venus retro for me massive changes, like relationships. I'm talking ending things, because it was just enough was enough. I'm talking, my kids being more argumentative, people on the roads. I mean, I'm no angel with that, but it's just like people getting more aggressive. Like I saw the other day, this guy in a BMW and this guy in an Audi. They were obviously trying to race each other through my village, and one of them like took his wing mirror off, and he like got out of the car and he's like trying to punch him, and I'm like sat there like, oh my god. But I didn't. I got the hell out of there. But yeah, it's a thing where I've just noticed there's a lot of anger and resentment, and obviously we're coming towards Mercury retro, which is just like really. But I do find that a lot of people are struggling with the Venus retro. Like we're all struggling with it. So I'm just kind of saying to people, hang the hell in there, because it is finishing, thank God, soon.
Yeah, it literally feels like death because it's in the sign of Scorpio, life and death. And I do feel destroyed by this Venus retrograde because it landed right on my Pluto. And I just feel literally destroyed when it comes to anything regarding my money, my finances,
yeah,
my material possessions. Like it is bothering me. It's bringing out the dark side in me.
I think we all have that dark side, haven't we? We all do. It's just a case of
yeah.
I think the worst one is when people like I will happily, I'm a very open page. Like it's just people like say, oh, you should give your birth chart details away, and I'm like, I don't really care. They can look. It doesn't bother me. But I think that for the most part, like it's when people think that they don't have a dark side to them, like or a darker side, and they think that they're actually legitimately perfect. And that for me, that breaks me, because that's not being authentic,
Yes. Yeah. Like when I do talk about the dark sides of zodiac signs, I don't want people to take it personally.
No.
Because I have a love for all 12 of them. Now that I know what I know, I became very unbiased. Like I love all 12 zodiac signs. It's certain aspects that makes me irritated with that particular person.
Yes.
Yeah, they may have contradicting things, and that contradiction may irritate me. Like I've experienced a person who had secretive Scorpio energy in their chart, but then they also had something contradicting where they had a big mouth, and they like to put you on blast and call you out, but they couldn't stand for them to be called, because Scorpio is very secretive. So that combination just aggravated me. Like too much of anything can be annoying.
Yeah.
Like I love Gemini energy because they are so funny to me, and I could talk with them all day. They're funny and they're curious, and they're open-minded to learn, like, because I like to educate, and they can take it and receive it without being, overly disagreeable or whatever. And then there's a dark side where they they act one way in a certain situation, then they act another way in a situation, or they talk too much, or they try to be manipulative and cunning with their words. Oh, I didn't say it like that. I said it like this. Trying to confuse you because it's a mutable sign. They're very intelligent. They know how to trick you. It's like, oh yeah, why don't you buy this piece of paper for $20? And they know they can convince you to do it. Like, okay, and then once you have it, you're like, why did I just buy this crap? Yes. That can be the Gemini energy, or Pisces energy in a negative way. They can be so indirect. If I
Oh,
ask
I'm terrible for that.
or if I ask them a question, they give you vague answers. Or if you ask them a personal
All I will describe that as is, I've done this in the past. I'm going red, like I'm so good. Is where someone blatantly annoyed you and you're like on Facebook. Some people,
yeah, that they're very indirect in their messages and their words, or they give themselves away, and then when you ask them about it, they won't answer. And it's like, you might as well say it because you're saying it in a different way. So they're just indirect and
that's
evasive
one
like
thing.
that.
That is one thing that
Yeah.
people know about me. I cannot lie. Like when I was pregnant with my daughter, I tried so hard to keep it a secret. I can't keep secrets. But I think I was like 6 weeks when I found out. And I was just like ecstatic. I'm thinking, oh my God. And that was the first thing I did. I looked at her due date and I was like, oh, she'll be a Libra. And but then I went into work and I was like, oh, I've got really bad stomachache. And someone says, oh, in a jokey way, oh, you're not pregnant, are you? And I was like, no. And they were like, you're so are. And I was like, okay, I am. Like, yeah, I can't lie. And I think that's I think that is in a way a blessing. But I suppose, like, if I committed a murder, like I'd just hand myself in. But yeah, it's me, sorry. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I also wanted to talk about some of the questions that people have been asking me about serial killers, because it is a high rating of mutable signs, having the highest rate in serial killing. Gemini,
I have noticed that.
Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, and a lot of that does have to do with the fact that they can adjust to any situation. That's what mutable signs do. Whereas cardinal signs, they are the initiators. They initiate, but may not finish, or they leave evidence behind. In the fixed energy, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, their patterns are consistent and the same, so that's why they get caught.
Yeah.
Whereas mutable energy, it's harder to catch them because they can adjust to any situation. Gemini can talk themselves out of a situation. Pisces knows how to hide and disguise and stuff like that because it's, imagination, illusion, and something that is not real. And Virgos, they're so analytical and observant to their personal surroundings that they know how to get rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
Because Virgo is kind of similar to Scorpio a little bit. They're like the eliminators. They eliminate anything that is not good or necessary. Scorpio is more destructive, like get rid of it now. Whereas Virgo is more like careful and cautious, like, okay, we're going to get rid of this, we're going to get rid of that. And one serial killer that I did not mention, well, she's not a serial killer. She only killed 2 people, but it is a popular story. Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a Virgo rising, and part of the story is that she had a hatchet and murdered her stepmother and her father. And she is a Virgo rising, and she killed her parents naked, and she set her clothes on fire just in case. Now, if Virgo had to be a serial killer, that's probably one of the things that they would do. Being careful of the material things, like making sure that they don't get caught. Same thing with another serial killer, the Boston Strangler. He had a stellium in Virgo, being very careful of the surroundings, making sure that there's no evidence being left. And Gemini, they can talk themselves out of situations like Jeffrey Dahmer, where he convinced the authority that this, because one of his victims escaped and the police were there. And Jeffrey Dahmer drilled a hole into this kid's head and
Oh,
poured acid into the skull of a person's head so the victim could not talk. His mind was, who knows what was going through his mind, but he could not talk. He was like a zombie. And I don't know how Jeffrey Dahmer got away with this, but he was able to be manipulative with his words because he has a Mercury in Gemini with a challenging aspect from Pluto, which can make the mind very manipulative in a negative way. So it's
yeah, they're tough. They're tough. They are tough people to crack, you know. But the thing is, as well, do you think that? I mean, I've thought about this before. Like, if the police kind of, I don't know, like if you could have somebody that was very knowledgeable in astrology, maybe you could commit that they could solve murders, maybe saying, right, this is the kind of criminal profile you're looking for, somebody with this kind of aspect. Like,
Yes.
it would be amazing. It would.
Yeah. Pisces
Yeah.
is excellent at hiding. Uh, Sagittarius is excellent at being in one place, then being in another place, and being in this place, and being in that place. And Virgo knows how to eliminate the evidence, the material evidence, and Gemini just knows how to verbally convince people to believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
That intelligence, the mind, because Gemini does have that stereotype of being two-faced because they can adjust. They just know how to adjust in certain situations when communicating with people. They can talk very proper, like in a career environment, and then they could talk like that, like they're in the hood or something like that. Like they can adjust to different cultures, different backgrounds. They just know how to talk to other people. That's where the sign mimicking comes from. It's a sign of mimicking something, the mirror image.
My best friend does that. She does. She actually does. Yeah, she does. Like, she's different at work than she is in front of her actual very close friends. Like, she's but she is also a Cancer rising and moon as well. So, I see a lot with her. She'll kill me for talking about her on live, but but yeah, but no, I have noticed that with a few people. Like, this is this is a question. Like, do you think that certain I mean, I know that certain transits can make you more susceptible to addiction, alcoholics,
Yeah.
I did know somebody that was is like a serious alcoholic. And when I looked at his chart, I was a bit like, I don't know. But I did see certain things that maybe made that as a thing. Do you think there's certain signs in general, or would you say that it's the transits that cause those behaviors?
I think it's a mixture of both. Like sometimes you do have to have something in your chart that would make you more vulnerable to want to take drugs or to drink alcohol. And certain transits do trigger that, or it could be something that's been embedded into your soul all your life. It's within the birth chart, like if you're born under a certain fixed star, or if you have challenging aspects to Neptune or something like that. Or Saturn, because Saturn can make you feel depressed. And if Neptune is involved, you may have a tendency to be an alcoholic. Whether it's maybe you have Neptune in the second house, because second house is intake of food. And with challenging aspects, that can make the mind feel depressed, especially if Moon or Mercury involved.
Yeah, of course.
Those planets do represent how we feel and how we think. So if there's any afflictions or any transits, it can trigger that. Someone to be an alcoholic, or you have a lot of 12th house energy too, or 6th house, because 6th house does represent medicine and drugs, drugs to heal though, whereas 12th house is more like getting lost and stuff like that.
What would you say is the worst sign to have in the 12th house?
The worst sign, the worst zodiac sign? That's a good question.
I have mine in Libra, I believe.
I think I would say Aries, because Taurus rising people. 12th house is a house of confusion and losses. Aries is a temperamental sign. So any hidden enemies, they can be very aggressive and temperamental, and Taurus will be oblivious to it. And even the way they deal with their anger is unhealthy. They're the sign that would go to bed angry because 12th house represents bed pleasures. So Taurus does have a stereotype of being a ticking time bomb. where they're very calm and very stable, very grounded. They are also the kind of sign where you would ask them, "Are you mad? Are you mad? No. Are you mad? No. Are you mad? No." And then if you keep poking at them and pushing them,
Yes.
they may snap and get, "I am mad." And then when they get mad, they stay mad forever, because Taurus is a sign of consistency.
I'm
When
laughing because it's my moon.
Yeah. So if you provoke the bull long enough, you better watch out,
I've
because
dated two
yeah,
Taurians, and one in
yeah,
particular really did show their dark side when I broke it off. Like,
yeah.
Christ. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
I didn't want anything more, and I was like, no, 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 I'm done.
Mhm.
And he was just nasty. Like, I'm talking threats. And I'm
Yeah.
like reading these, like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
get
Their
the
anger
blood.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, to be fair, like, I think like looking at it from a perspective, like, I have Taurus tattooed on me, but like, woo, I mean, I could say my brother is a Taurus as well, and he's the same. Like, he will go, like, really, like, when he's I'm sure he's a Pisces moon. Like, he'll get really, like, moody, and you'll be like, "What's the matter?" "Nothing." "What's the matter?" "Nothing." And you go, "What's the matter?" He's like, "Nothing." "All right, calm down." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Because the 12th house is a house of losses and confusion. So
Yeah,
even
of
a
course.
Taurus won't even understand why they're angry, because that's the house of illusion and confusion, and your subconscious mind is very deep in their subconscious mind. Like, when they're angry, you literally have to take them to a psychologist, because they don't deal with their
Yeah,
anger, or they deal with aggressive people in a very lighthearted way. So they're
they
kind of
do.
prone to being bullied too, because Scorpio is on their seventh house, which represents other people, attracting intense people, and they can be intense right back. Seventh house can
Yes.
also be how you treat people. So Taurus is not afraid to strike you back.
Yeah, it
Taurus other
sits
people.
on my seventh house. Yeah.
Yeah, so they get very, very angry, and it's the kind of anger that is illogical and does not make any sense.
So I find with it sitting on my seventh, I mean, like, I've had, when I've been gone through breakups, like, this is how I get over breakups. This is like, people think it's weird. I don't really care, but it's a case of, I will have, like, some people will go through breakups for months. Like, they will go through the crying, they will go through the, I'm so depressed, I can't live without them. When I know a relationship is about to end, like, I check myself out of it there and then. Like, I don't even let it finish. Like, I'm just like, okay, let's get myself out of it. Like, I take my heart back, let it heal, and then I'm like, if I feel like it may have worked, if it may work out, maybe give it back. But then,
Mhm.
if, like, for instance, my most recent breakup, I was like, I'm done, way, way done. But
Yeah.
because kids are a factor, it's difficult. But when I eventually got the courage to leave, I had 2 solid days of, I feel like crap, I'm crying, and then I'm like, I'm fine. And I think that, I don't know if that is a Taurian thing. I don't know. Like, why has it always been that I've found it very much, I bounce back quick, so to
Hmm.
say. And yet, people that I've dated, they act like they don't give a crap at the start, and then it hits them later on.
Hmm.
It does.
Yeah. Scorpio is one of the most resilient signs too. And it's funny because people are always surprised when you search the highest rate in zodiac signs for to be serial killers, Scorpio is the least. Which is
Mm,
funny, because that's a sign of life and death and trauma and drama and all this stuff. And part of the reason why I think that is because they're so resilient, and they deal with their anger right then and there on the spot.
yeah.
And what it is, it's a purging thing. And Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, which represents transformation and detoxing and destroying and eliminating things that are not good for you, including enemies.
Yeah.
This is why Scorpio can get a bad rep for being quote unquote mean or too intense. Um, and in a negative way, it can't be manifested like that. But what it is, they deal with their anger and their enemies immediately with an instance. They bounce back super fast. And
Makes
what it
sense.
is, they get rid of those negative vibes and negative feelings, because a lot of people allow things to they allow people to say whatever to them, and they don't deal with it, whereas Scorpio is more on the watch and, you know, kind of suspicious. They're always ready. They're always ready to come back. And what it is, they release the anger. That's why it represents psychology, you know.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Makes
good
sense.
traits of Scorpio. They have a deep psychological understanding of other people, and they help other people purge out those nasty negative feelings.
Yeah.
And it's healthy to be that way. You
I
know,
think
that,
so too. Instead of holding on to it for months on end. My
Mhm.
philosophy in life is you know, my nana used to say when she was alive, pull up your big girl pants, chin up, put
Yeah.
carry on. That's what my nana taught me. And that was always a thing. Like when I was in my younger years, it was like my Piscean side when I had this crush on this guy called Mark. If you're watching Mark, you broke my heart. And I had a crush on him for like a year. And I finally just mustered up courage to ask him out, and he's like, "Oh no, you're a fat whore." Is that what he called me? I was like 10 or 11. I was devastated. I was, and that carried with me for months. But you know, now, like if I got insulted or whatever, I'm just like, oh, whatever. You know,
Mhm.
I think that advice for anybody watching this, if you actually feel like you carry it close to you, pull your
Mhm.
pants up, chin up, dust it off,
Yeah.
and carry on, because it's not, people's opinions just aren't worth it. Like, my mom used to be, you know, she's a Leo. My mom and my dad, who's no longer with us, he was an Aquarius. So my dad's like very much, he used to be like, I used to approach him, oh dad, I've met someone. He's like, yeah, that's awesome. Whereas my mom's like, what's his name? Like she goes, well, army, like, what's his name? Where does he live? And you're just like, oh my God. But
Mhm.
I find that um the more people, I think the thing that gets to me the most is that everybody deals with things differently, of course, but people like associate like Scorpios of being a bitch. They associate Scorpios of being dark, nasty. Oh, don't go near a Scorpio. And do you know what? I find that I know a million Scorpio rising people as well, and you know, I know some Scorpio moon guys and girls that are amazing, Scorpio suns, of course. Yeah,
Mhm.
and they all go through crap. They do, but
Yeah,
it
they
makes them
do.
who they are. It makes them strong. So I
Yeah.
see anybody with that because it's awesome. It's really that
Yeah.
you go through so much and you come back.
Yeah, they are strong people. They're resilient, and what gives them also the stereotype as being mean is because, you know, Scorpio is reactionary, but
Mm-hmm.
when they do feel stumped or when they feel like they haven't dealt with it, they can be resentful because they're itching to get this hatred out of them,
Yeah,
and they exude it, which makes them more intense because they're trying to allow these negative feelings out.
yeah,
And sometimes it's inappropriate to let it out in certain situations. So that's part of the reason why they explode, because they hold on to the resentment and this just burning desire to let those feelings out. And when they do let it out, they explode. That's why it's very tough for a person to be a moon Scorpio, because moon represents our feelings, our emotions, and our mind. So it's like an emotional turmoil for them. So you really have to gain their trust for moon Scorpio people, you know, because
yeah.
they do encounter some turbulent things in their lives.
I have just thought of somebody that's a Scorpio moon. It sounds just like them. I'm going to actually send them that part and say, listen to that. Because it's true. Like
Yeah.
there was a particular instance, we had a running, me and this person, we had this little running, they're a Scorpio moon. And me being a Scorpio rising, yes, nice. But
Mhm.
there was this one instance where I took something that they'd said the wrong way.
Mhm.
And they were being like really sharp, like one word Texas. And I was like, what's the matter? What's the matter? Like, why are you being like that with me? I'm like, why am I being so needy to this person? But why are you not talking to me? And they like just ripped this massive paragraph. Like, and I was just like, okay, I'm turning my phone off. And then an hour later, because they're a Pisces sun and rising, like an hour later, and they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's fine. But yeah, that's it. That is it. Like they build up and they build up and they build up and then they snap. But
Yeah, it's very similar to Taurus too, because Taurus can be like that. With Taurus, the difference between Taurus and Scorpio is that Taurus is not even aware of their anger.
mm,
They're so chill and they're so calm, and that's why they explode, because they won't even acknowledge their explosive behavior can be worse because they won't even acknowledge it. At least Scorpio will sit down and think about it and deal with it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. They take out whatever is ugly to them, and they acknowledge it and deal with it, and then they destroy it.
It's the
You know,
best thing to do.
yeah, and so that destructive behavior is so dangerous. Scorpio can be known to be dangerous. So it can be manifested in a good way or a bad way, just like the rest of the zodiac signs. It's
And
just
I
depends
think
on how
lesson
you
learned going forward from this is that don't assume because they're a Sagittarius, don't assume because they're a Virgo, don't assume because they're an Aries, they're
play.
this stereotype. You have to look at the bigger picture, which is,
Yes.
which is what I find unreal about
Mhm.
astrology in general. So
Yeah.
you're right there, absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Which sign would you say that you attract the most? Like which
I attract, like, as far as relationship goes.
anything, like any
Oh,
like
anyone? Oh, I do seem to attract Virgo sun people, just
mhm.
in general. I'm not sure why, because there's nothing in particular in my chart about Virgo. Um, I do attract moon Capricorn people for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I attract sun Scorpio people a lot. Um, that's pretty much it. Scorpio, Capricorn, and Virgo I attract the most.
See, I attract Scorpio risings and moons all the time.
Yeah.
But my I it's mainly Aquarius suns that I do.
Mhm.
I keep meeting a lot of Aquarius, and I'm like, that sits on my Mercury anyway, so that's fine. I think it sits on my Venus as well, if I remember right. But yeah, but it's I think that's right. Not off the top of my head anyway. But yeah, I do it. It's mainly Scorpios, Aquarians, and I would say the other one was Taurus, but I haven't met some Taurians for a long time. So I would say
Mhm.
the other one being Pisces now. Like really,
Yeah.
really. But Aquarians 100%. I don't know,
Yeah.
just seems to be all the say the last 6 7 clients that I've had all have strong Aquarian energy, and I'm just like
Mhm.
we just gel so together. It's
Yeah.
great, it's awesome, it is.
I've
But
always drawn to. I always attract Capricorn women too.
really, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. And
So mine's Pisces or Taurus, two complete opposite freaking ends.
but they're harmonious to each other though. It's
Yeah, that's true. It is, but I would rather date. It's like looking at my who I've dated in the past. Like I was like, this is what I'm saying. Like I cannot judge all Taurian males because they're not all the same. But the
yeah.
two that I have dated have not been right for me. But then I look at the bigger picture. There was a lot of Gemini, a lot of Sagittarius. It just wasn't right. But
Mhm.
I've dated two Pisceans, and
Mhm.
they were the best because they just gel with me like that. It's just brilliant. So
Yeah,
yeah.
not only is that your sun sign, but you have Venus there, and it's also your fifth house. So the fifth house is a house of romance, fun, games. So that's probably why you get along with them. So that's another thing you have um, to look into with charts. You have to know the planetary friendships, because there is a thing with planets who are friends, planets who are enemies. Like
Mm-hmm.
Moon is a friend to Jupiter. So if somebody, like your Moon Taurus, so if somebody were to have Jupiter and Moon, the Jupiter person would make you feel happy and optimistic, because
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that Jupiter represents. And mythologically speaking, Jupiter and Moon are friends. Same thing with the Sun. So I probably will make a video on that later, like
Mm-hmm.
planetary friendships, which planets are friends with the other, which planets is bad for the other one. So it's like a synastry thing.
Yeah.
How are their planets coming into your house?
Mm.
Or the sixth house can be a house of enemies, so that person could feel like somebody who irritates you, or the 12th house, if somebody has a lot of planets in the 12th house, they can feel like a hidden enemy, because 12th house represents hidden enemies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or you may feel like you just want to get high with them or get drunk or something like that, because that's the 12th house. So it could
I
go
love
either
it.
way, depending on the aspects and the planets. So it could go. You can go on forever with this, because it depends on your planetary placements and their planetary placements.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
like that. No, it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people Like, I think hopefully going away from this video, people actually realize a little bit more that there is more to life than your sun sign. I think that would be a fantastic title for this video. There's more to life than the sun sign. No, it is true, because we do live by, because like you said, like when I say, oh, what can I start by taking your sign? Oh yeah, I'm an Aquarius. I'm like, that means nothing. I need to know like everything about you now. Like, let's just get everything out, like,
Yeah.
But when I remember this one time I did this reading and I was trying to explain in basic terms what each thing meant for this particular person, and it was this like glazed expression. They were like, I haven't got a clue what you're on about, but I know now that Venus is in Leo. That's cool.
Yeah, some people don't get it and some people do, and even the ones who don't get it, they're always speechless, like, how do you know that? It's funny.
See, I can read, like, I read people intuitively, though. Like, I sat in front of this woman the other day and I just basically told her about her life, and she's like, you just looked at me, and I went, I know, it's just this things I pick up, and obviously I read auras, I can see what's going on in that space at that particular moment. And I think that, since I've been doing a lot more reading into astrology and stuff like that, like it's this beautiful synergy. It works so well.
Yeah.
And people love it. They do. They love knowing, these sorts of things. I have a regular client that says, what's my aura this week? Like we kind of go into it. We have long discussions about how your aura color can change at that particular, a particular period in your life. If you need more protection, you'll have a lot of green in there. If you need some strength, you'll get some blue going in there. If your psychic energy is really, really strong, that purple is going to intensify. There's so many. I mean, I did a video with Lada about this a long time ago, like talking about the auric field and why that is so important too, because we're not just this. Which I think a lot of it now, I do worry about today's youth. I see a lot of teenagers walking down the street. They've got their Adidas, they've got their whatever it is that they're wearing, they've got their brand new iPhones and whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, why can't you guys see it? There is more to life than that. And I think that our job, I mean, my children know all about astrology. They know about tarot. They know about, my daughter likes to throw my cards. She's 3. She likes to throw them. But like, they all have a fascination with crystals. They all have crystals in their room. So I think that if you actually teach your children about the importance of the eccentric, the occult or whatever, if you start to kind of open their minds from a young age, it kind of gives the next generations hope. Because there's not enough woke people. That's my job. I wake people up.
There will be the Neptune Pisces generation. They will be.
Oh yeah, because we're still in that now, aren't we?
So, and these babies are being born now, and Neptune's going to be there till the 2020s. So when they grow up, they'll be woke.
What year did it start again? I can't think off the top of my head.
I don't remember.
Because I know my son and my son had, so he's 2012, he has it. My youngest daughter, Ava, has it. But I'm not sure about my eldest, because that was 2000. She was born in 2009. I'm pretty certain it started 2010, but I can't be 100%.
Yeah, we're the Neptune Capricorn generation, where we incorporate intuition into the corporate world. And with Uranus there, we also apply it to technology, especially the Saturn, Uranus, Neptune conjunction people too.
Yeah, it started February 3rd, 2011, and it finishes January 2026. So we have a while.
Yeah.
So if I have any future children, if I was mad enough to have any more, I would have more Neptune and Pisces kids. That's pretty cool.
I'm hoping I could have children just before it goes into Aries. I want to have Neptune Pisces children. I don't have any yet, but I want to.
Crazy. Yeah. So I think my eldest she would have had Neptune in Aquarius then. So yeah, it's quite interesting how people can, like, I mean, I'm just learning more and more about that, but I found that my youngest 2 children, they are really, really intuitive. Like, they pick up on it. But my youngest especially, like, she'll come in here and she does it when I'm on readings sometimes. She'll just kind of waltz in. I have like a a bunch of crystals on my window, and she'll just take them out. And she's like, yeah, I'm just borrowing these. And she'll go into her room. Like, she has all these toys, but she'd rather play with the crystals. And I just think it's amazing, you know, like how you can see that it's already starting to come to the surface, but she can especially read people. If she doesn't like the vibe that people are giving off, she'll stay away from them.
Wow, that's amazing. It's kind
Yeah,
of cool.
she has a Virgo moon too, so she really does analyze people.
Yeah, in the
Ooh,
12th house.
she really does. It's so funny. Like, you can see her, the cogs ticking, you know, like turning in her brain, like she's looking at them like, do I like you? No. Like,
Yes.
so whereas I'm very, like, I approach anybody, but I can, you know, when you just get a sense that somebody isn't right, you know, that I do get that sense, but unfortunately I don't get it all the time. And then sometimes I crash and burn. So I don't know if you have the same vibes of that.
Yeah.
Yay. There's always the same though, isn't there? You live and you learn.
Yeah.
So that is that, I think. Yeah, I think going forward from this, I think that everybody should pay more attention to the people around you, and, you know, especially with their charts. You know, if you can get hold of them, have a look, and, you know, you can practice on your friends and family, can't you, where you can just see what they're doing. And you can also be really nosy with it too, like you'd say, oh, no, what about you now?
It's invasive. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can definitely. That was another question I had. So, like, you know, we have a lot of unfortunate in the world, narcissistic people, psychopaths, sociopaths. I've encountered a fair few in my life, but but do you find that that's linked to astrology? Would you say that it's that? Because I hate it when people say, oh, it's a mental disorder, like, oh, being a narcissist is mental illness and stuff. I don't agree with that. I do think it is linked to astrology. I think it is the way that people are wired, of course. And I do believe that behavioral patterns can cause that too, by their upbringings and stuff like that. But what's your take on it? Like, what would you say makes somebody the perfect psychopath?
I do think that's a good question. Astrology is so interesting. I do think that astrology is always coincide or correspondent to what happens in real life. Like certain things, there's certain key words that are ruled by the zodiac signs, the houses, and the planets. Like I recently did a video on what's his name, the Night Stalker. I was explaining how his mother was, she had a job where she was inhaling fumes and chemicals that caused a defect on her children, including Richard Ramirez. And chemicals rules Pisces, and his moon sign is Pisces, moon representing the mother, moon, Mercury, and Ketu. And her body was trying to reject the child because she had foreign elements in her body that was attached to the child. So that's part of the reason why he was the way that he was, and he had epileptic seizures too growing up. And the children before him, they had mental disorders. And sometimes K2, Mercury, and Moon, okay, when Mercury and Moon are together, not all Mercury Moon conjunction people, but sometimes it can cause like a little bit of a mental disorder with K2. It can either make you an incredible genius or someone who has mental problems, or they perceive things in an unrealistic way.
Yeah, of course.
So this is where astrology is real specific. You got to see which planet is stronger than the other one. You got to see which planet is debilitated. Like Mercury is debilitated in Pisces, and with K2, which can detach you from logic and rationale anyway. So that is like a double influence. So it's like he's already messed up in the brain, and then he was born under certain nakshatras and fixed stars at certain degrees that made him have occult interests because he was a devil worshiper.
Yes.
And then you got to look at the ruling houses. His moon is ruled by the 8th house, which is a house of occult knowledge. Yeah. So it's like a triple whammy with him. So it's interesting how astrology will coincide with what goes on in reality, because certain words do represent what goes on in real life, and certain words they apply to the ruling words for the zodiac signs and planets. So that one is hard because it's something that people love to debate about. People love to argue about it, like, oh, well, what about this? Oh, well, what about that? I don't believe in that. So they love to do that. So you can go on and on and on. Like anything can rule anything. Like this wallet could represent the second house. Like, you know what I mean? Like anything, or this computer could be the 11th house or whatever, technology,
Yeah, of course.
or the third house, media. It's just everything around you. Astrology is everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
Even the colors. So it's one of the. It's hard for me to answer that because it's one of those things that you can argue about and debate about, and people love to
Yeah, I
argue,
think so.
and I don't.
No, I think that. I mean, I'm up for a good debate, but sometimes I just think I can't be bothered. But no, I think it makes a lot of sense. I do think, like I say, there is a link there. I think obviously, like you can, like you said, you can be born under certain bad placements, I guess. But I think overall, I think the biggest influence is what we experience as well. So growing up, people can go through like, oh my God, you can go through some real traumatic stuff that, shapes you into the person. I did watch this documentary a while ago about being able to split the mind, and it was a certain cult where they would take a child and they would break their mind, like they would split it to be able to get them to do whatever the hell they wanted, essentially. And the fact that, and they do that by severe trauma. They put the child into a state of trust and they break it. They split their mind through that same person who they trust, abusing them so much that their mind would split because they couldn't rationalize what the hell just happened. So it's some scary, I mean, that is for another video. Like I could go on and on and on about, I mean, I like my conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But yeah, I find it fascinating. I do. I think that the whole psychology, I mean, people say, oh, if you watch things about serial killers, it means you love them. It's like, no, I'm just fascinated by how to get inside the mind of somebody that's capable of something like that. It makes you wonder what went wrong.
Yeah, that's all it is. And I'm sure people think I'm crazy too for doing videos like that, but it's not because I admire them. It has nothing to do with that. I think these people are disgusting and they're sick people. And I'm just curious as to why. That's it. I just want to know so we can use it and prevent it from happening to our future children too. Like I have the mindset, okay, I know about astrology. I'm aware of karma and the universe and all that. So I'm going to make sure I am the best parent.
Yeah.
So nothing like that happens. Because sometimes we don't know why our child is the way that they are. And it could be because of something that you did in the past that you're not aware of. Like even with Jeffrey Dahmer and the Iceman and all these people, like the Iceman, he has Moon in Cancer, and Moon is in its own sign, Cancer. So that doesn't sound bad, right? Normally you would have like a good, a traditional mother, but he had bad aspects. So this is why it's important to not just look at the moon and the sign. What conjunctions are happening? He had a Ketu conjunction, which suppresses the emotions. Then he has Pluto conjunction, which suppresses the emotions even more, and also making the mind paranoid, turbulent, suspicious. And it's basically a moon in Scorpio, pretty much. And his mother was somebody who was traditional, who stayed at home and cooked and cleaned and all that. Those are all the stereotype Cancer things. But she beat his ass. She was abusive. So it defeats the purpose of having Moon in Cancer. And he was a hitman too. And he had other stuff going on in his chart too. He had challenging aspects from Mars and the sun, and it's all having a challenging square aspect to. He had a T-square from Mars, Sun, aspecting his Moon in Cancer, in conjunction with these malefic planets. And you can even hear the words too. This is where intuition comes in. You got to know what certain words go with the zodiac signs. And his wife used to accuse him by saying, you act like you don't care. You're very cold-hearted. That's where he got the Iceman name from. And he got boiling mad. He said, I don't care. I don't care. I do care. Because he really was a caring person, but the way he expressed it was very unhealthy. the way he showed his way of caring was making money by killing people, and then he provided for his family, taking family photos and smiling and all that. So it's like a dysfunctional cancer. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean by how the zodiac signs can be manifested in a negative way. He was very family oriented, very much a family man, but he was a killer. He was an assassin.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just the intention's sort of there in a sick way. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
family man, but look what he did to be a family man. And he was still emotionally unexpressive with Kate expressing his emotions, without making his emotions, suppressing his emotions, and destructive and paranoid and cold-hearted.
Yeah, you're telling me. Wow.
Yeah, and
That's
then
crazy.
and then anger with the square aspect from Mars, square aspect from the Sun. So he was authoritative too. So yeah, and his father used to beat the hell out of him. So it's just a mess.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But then, there is just, God, I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that, because it's just so sad. But
Yeah, it is sad.
kind of like the compassionate side to you is like, you kind of feel for these people, because you think, well, they have had a really crappy life, but then ultimately they had a choice.
Yeah.
They had a choice. Yep, it is free will. They had a choice. They could have easily gone and sought help and lived a normal life, but they decided to go against that and do some horrific things. So, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. But yeah, my only thought is with the families involved, because their lives ultimately got changed over somebody being selfish and being an asshole. So
yeah.
So yeah, well, that, to be fair, I think that wraps it all up, I think. And just like kind of going forward from here, like, yeah, definitely look at the astrology in more of a way other than your sun.
Yeah, that's a good end.
Yes. Anything to care to add to that?
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, well, I highly recommend that you do book with Darren, because he is awesome and he's helped me so much with my astrology journey. And everything's going to be in the description box below, of course. Do you have anything to add before we go?
Who do I want to kill tonight? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I have a list, like you. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been awesome. Obviously this is going to go on all platforms, so read, watch, whatever you want to do, your heart's content. But thank you very much, guys, and we shall see you soon. So take care. We shall do this again.
All right, bye, Amy.
Take care.